𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥。
ガク。
よかった。本当によかった。きっとあなたのたゆまない努力と思いが奇跡を生んだのです。あなたの思いは確かに受け止めました。あなたに救われたこの命ならば、私はこの心を捧げます。
I come here every single week, y'all, and I come and I tell you the following things. Sid is a fool. He is a psychopath. He is just a beautifully, artistically created actor. He is atomic. And I come in every single week and I just come and just like, I reiterate the same things because every single episode further accentuates and accentuates Sid being all of these things, right? He is just absolutely terrific. He's one of the best characters. He's one of the best written characters that I've seen personally in anime. Now, he does have some faults, and there is a couple of things, a couple of quirky things that I'm not exactly the biggest fan of, and I'm going to talk about them because I'm going to have to talk about them this episode because it comes in relation to a specific character. But before I even get to that, I want to talk about one thing that I absolutely love, and that is the fact that mostly every time that I come on here and I talk about a really good episode of anime, one of the things that I tend to associate a really great anime or a really great episode of anime is how short it felt, right? How they can make 23 minutes feel like it was 5 minutes. Eminence of Shadow continues to be in a master class. It continues to be in a class that very few anime get to kind of be in there with it. And I think what really does it for me is this episode specifically here felt like it was like a 45-minute episode. It felt like it was just jam-packed with information, with a decent amount of action, with a lot of comedy, a lot of funniness, a lot of character interaction. It spread across a lot of different characters, right? We got to see Princess Iris, Princess Alexia. We got to see Princess Rose or Aurelia, whatever her name is. We got to see Princess Rose. We got to see Gamma. We got to get Epsilon's backstory. We got to see Beta, right? We got to see all these different characters, right? And I was like, this episode was just so jam-packed, and it felt so long. Now, I will say, in 100% transparency, there was a couple of times that I had to pause because I was taking a note here and there, and when I take a note, I don't want to miss anything of what happens next because there's just so much happening. So there was a couple of moments where I did have to pause, so it probably, kind of enhanced what elongated my overall experience. But man, this episode was just so good. So let me run through the different sections. I'll kind of start from the top, and I'll run through the different sections of the anime, and I'll kind of talk about my opinion about them. So first and foremost, I love how they snuck in Claire. We haven't got enough Claire in this anime yet, which is Sid's sister, his older sister, but I love how she was on the prowl for Sid specifically. I love how she was like on the prowl for him, and she was like kind of like looking for him. And I really want to see more interaction between him and his sister because she has an obsessive love for her brother, essentially. And I don't know if Sid quite sees that yet, but she is very, very overprotective of Sid. But I love how she was looking for him. And the reason she was looking for him is summertime came early. So typically their summer break occurs a little bit later in their school year. It came early because, their school basically got attacked and basically destroyed by all the fire and everything. We then found out, okay, Sid's going to get his next mission, which he got a letter from Alpha. And basically they need to go to this town called the Sacred Land Lindworm. It's a city of deception, and the reason it's called City of Deception is apparently there are old texts, old ancient stories and subtexts of heroes and stuff like that where a goddess came and bestowed powers upon heroes. Alpha, along with Sid, they're all calling it malarkey, so they're coming to this city to really kind of investigate what the hell's really going on here. So just from premise and future plotline, freaking S+, not even A+, S+ tier, just from the pure fan service that we're getting from a pure story perspective, right? Then we see the next thing, we get introduced to Epsilon, right? And Epsilon, she is vivacious, but she is not curvy in any way. But she has a strong desire to be very endowed, but she's just not quite that. So she uses the power that Cid bestowed upon her, as well as slimes, to make herself very curvy. The reason that she has that is when Cid discovered her as a young child, as he seemingly has discovered most of the Shadow Garden members. He basically told her, like, you can make whatever you want happen. And at one point she saw Beta, and Beta is very well naturally endowed, and she was like, that's my goal. So she's been a very cool companion and a very good member of Shadow Garden, but she has some different desires, ultimately to bed and to, make sure she fulfills Cid in those ways. Then we meet some random guy. He was like this blonde guy. He basically compliments, essentially, what Cid's gonna look like. Come to find out that basically Beta this whole entire time has been writing fanfic. She's been doing writing, and the story we got is really just her writing her fanfic, which I think is absolutely hilarious. She's trying to write a story about Cid, so that was really funny. Then she fights with 𝐜𝐴𝐵, and I think that was hilarious. Then we move on to the next thing, which is just like this comedy is just 10 out of 10, right? Princess Alexia and Princess Iris go shopping at Gamma's stores, mall, place of business, and we get introduced to a lot of lingerie and underwear and innerwear and everything. And we come to find out that Princess Iris, she's trying to wear that snazzy snippy snap to come and get Cid and to, get our boy. And she wall slammed her sister Alexia. I mean, come on. Did you lose it? I lost it. I was like, she made Alexia feel uncomfortable and got her to allow herself to wear thongs and everything else. She bought a lot. She bought like half the store, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I like how Gamma caught on really quick because, most of the girls, they know that these other girls are also vying for Cid's attention, right? We now have Iris, we now have Princess Rose, and we have Sherry, all of these, different girls kind of vying for his attention. So I definitely love that quite a bit, and I love those scenes. I think those are like the absolute hilarity. Not only do we get to see Gamma, but we got to see these two girls as well. And Iris kind of told us what she's going to be doing here in the city as well, because it's a school trip. Then we have the next thing where we see Princess Rose, and Princess Rose is absolutely infatuated with Cid. She thinks that he is her only one. For her, she thinks that she just met the love of her life. And essentially, this all stems from the actions that Cid took during the school massacre thing that ended up happening. We get a cool flashback which shows Rose searching for Cid. He ended up being in the hospital bed, so he didn't die. But he sees her, and he's like, dead. I freaking love Cid so much. He's a fool, I swear. And she basically says out loud her undying love for him. And she found him at the train station. She said they're going to spend all 2 days together. He spends most of the time on the train avoiding her. And that's where it comes into my critique a little bit, is his relationship, the way he's perceiving or portraying himself while interacting with Princess Rose, although she is being a little overwhelming, is very one answer, like yes, no, probably. And I kind of want him to treat her or have the same relationship with her as he did with Princess Iris. Basically be more of himself, not the shadow version, but just kind of be more of himself. I really want to see more of that with him. I didn't like the character he's portraying with Princess Rose specifically. But we come to find out that she's heavily integrated into the church and stuff, so she has an idea that, hey, if he comes and wins the goddess tournament, she'll get her father's approval to make their little engagement official and get her father's approval for that. Then we see, and I literally wrote down too, like, what's Alexia gonna do about Rose, right? Like, what's gonna happen there? Then we find out that then we see the end of the episode with Alpha. Alpha came across the Archbishop, and we get to see that the Archbishop was murdered or something. Then we see we see Cid monologuing again from a rooftop, eating some ice cream. He finds somebody again pretending to be Shadow Garden, and then he confronts 𝐜𝐴𝐵, and again she's jiggling everywhere, and he gets the next stage of the mission. Of course, there's some things I missed in there, like them meeting Beta, him judging her, which is hella hilarious as well. There's some things in there that I missed. I'm just kind of covering the main basis of it. But overall, like, freaking just quirky and amazing and hilarious. Like, I laughed so much this episode. But then again, the way that we were filled up, like our appetite was satiated, was all these amazing plot lines that are happening right before our eyes, and all this character development that, even though they spent, maybe like a total of 65 seconds on Epsilon, I now have a really good gauge of who she is. I now have a really good gauge of how the girls are living, right? I now have a really good gauge of kind of Alpha's motivations. I have a really good gauge of Beta's motivations and what she's doing to earn income and stuff like that for the wider group. I now have a good idea of Alexia and Iris. I now have a good idea of what Iris is trying to accomplish, and I now have a good idea of what Princess Rose is trying to accomplish. What a freaking 10 out of 10 effing episode, guys. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you guys being here. I know I went a little bit long, so I apologize, but if you made it here, you're an effing rock star. So shout out in the comments below what you thought and who's best girl. All right, see you guys next week.